Dylan Rhodes wasn't one to believe in ghost stories. As a freelance photojournalist, he had spent the past decade chasing strange headlines across the United States, from alleged cryptid sightings in West Virginia to bizarre weather phenomena in Nevada. Most turned out to be hoaxes or exaggerations, the kind of stories tabloids thrived on. But when he got a mysterious email with the subject line, "Find the town that shouldn't exist," he hesitated. There was no sender name, just a return address in northern Oregon, near a stretch of forest Dylan had passed once on his way to Portland. The email body was even stranger. Mapleton. It only appears once a year. September 3rd, sunset. Go alone. He nearly deleted it, but something about it stuck with him. A town that appeared once a year? It sounded like the plot of a poorly written horror novel.
Still, his curiosity itched.
Dylan was low on gigs, and the potential of a story this strange was too good to ignore. So, on the morning of September 3rd, Dylan packed up his aging Jeep Cherokee with his camera gear, flashlight, backup batteries, a notebook, and a voice recorder. He drove northwest from Eugene into the mountains, past winding roads where pine trees grew so thick they nearly blocked out the sun. The GPS stopped working 3 hours in. Just as he was about to turn around, he saw it. A rusted road sign, barely legible through moss and dirt, read, "Welcome to Mapleton. EST 1873. His heart skipped. He drove forward, gravel crunching under his tires, and emerged into what looked like a tiny, picturesque town nestled between thick forest hills. The air had a golden tint as the sun dipped toward the horizon. Dylan slowed the car and rolled down his window. It was eerily quiet. No sounds of traffic, no kids playing, no birds chirping. He parked near what looked like an old diner. The neon sign buzzed faintly. Maggie's Pie and Coffee. Dylan grabbed his camera, stepped out, and immediately felt a strange sensation, as if the air here was thicker, older, somehow heavier than the forest he'd just driven through. He took a few cautious steps and called out, "Hello?" No answer. The town looked frozen in time. The buildings had a 1950s charm, brick shops with sun-faded awnings, a barber pole still spinning slowly, and a post office with its flag at half-mast. Everything was pristine, yet abandoned. He entered the diner. The bell over the door jingled. Inside, menus were still open on the tables, as if customers had just left. A pot of coffee sat half full on the warmer, and it was still hot. The air smelled of cinnamon. Dylan clicked a few photos. His hand trembled slightly. He switched on his voice recorder. 4:59 p.m. "I've found Mapleton. Looks like something out of a Norman Rockwell painting. No signs of current inhabitants, but something's off. Food is fresh. Coffee's hot. It's like they were just here." He moved deeper into the town. A barbershop. A general store. An elementary school. All open. All seemingly lived in, yet devoid of people. On a hunch, Dylan tried the local library. The lights flicked on when he entered. Books were neatly organized. On the front desk sat a thick guest book. He flipped it open. The last entry was from September 3rd, 1963. "We're still here. We're always here. Waiting." That's when he heard the piano. A soft, haunting melody drifted from somewhere down the street. Dylan froze. The sun had dipped below the trees, casting the town in shadow. He stepped outside, heart thudding. The music was coming from the church, a white clapboard building with a steeple and stained glass windows, faintly glowing in the darkening sky. He walked toward it, each step echoing on the quiet pavement. The piano grew louder, clearer. Someone was definitely playing. He pushed open the church door slowly. Inside sat a woman in her 20s, dressed in an old-fashioned blue dress, her hair done up like she'd walked out of the 1940s. She didn't turn to look at him. She kept playing. Dylan cleared his throat. "Excuse me." She stopped. "I knew you'd come," she said softly. He blinked. "What?" "You don't belong here," she said, standing up and turning to face him. Her eyes were wide, haunted. "You need to leave. Before sunrise." "Wait, are you from Mapleton?" he asked, gripping his camera. Is this a reenactment? What is this place?" She walked slowly toward him. You came looking for answers. But Mapleton doesn't give. It takes.
He took a step back.
What are you talking about? Every year we return. Every year someone finds us, she whispered. And every year someone stays. Before he could respond, a loud bell rang out from the steeple above, an ancient, thunderous sound that shook the building. The stained glass windows flashed brightly for a moment, as if struck by lightning. Dylan turned and ran out into the street. But the town had changed. The buildings were older now, worn, cracked, decaying. Windows were boarded up. Paint peeled off in sheets. The diner was shattered, its windows broken. The flag at the post office was torn and hanging limp. The air was cold. The sun was gone. He turned to look behind him. The church doors were closed. The girl was gone. Panic clawed at him. He ran back to his Jeep. Tried the ignition. Nothing. The engine wouldn't even click. He reached for his phone. No signal. Of course. Suddenly, someone knocked on the window.
He jumped.
A man stood outside. Middle-aged, wearing a sheriff's uniform from another era. He looked as real as anything Dylan had ever seen. You're the reporter, the man said calmly. A little late this year. Dylan rolled the window down an inch.
Who are you?
What is this place? The man sighed. My name's Sheriff Ed Langley. Or was, I guess.
You need to come with me. Now.
Before the sun rises.
Dylan hesitated.
Is this a trap? No, the sheriff said. It's your only chance. Dylan no better option. Wasn't one to believe Dylan in ghost followed stories. Him through the eerie as a freelance photojournalist to the town hall. He'd spent the past decade chasing there were candlelit lanterns across the United States furniture. From alleged wall of framed photos in West Virginia to bizarre weather phenomena. Each one dated September 3rd. Most turned out to be hoaxes or exaggerations. The kind of stories tabloids thrived on. 1969. But when he got a mysterious email with the subject 2023. Find the town that something terrifying. He hesitated. The last photo, there was no sender name, just a return address in Northern Oregon. Her name was handwritten below. Dylan had passed once on his way to Portland. Freelance blogger. The email body was even stranger. Dylan turned to the sheriff. Mapleton. Are these? It only appears once a year. The ones September 3rd, the sheriff said. Or the ones who were taken. He nearly deleted it.
But why?
But something about it stuck with him. Mapleton was cursed a long time ago. Appeared once a year. A deal made. It sounded like no one should ever deal with. Poorly written horror novel. The town was dying.
Still, his curiosity itched.
A stranger low on gigs and made a promise. And the potential of a story this strange was too good to ignore. So we took the deal. On the morning of September 3rd, Dylan packed up his aging Jeep Cherokee, but the price was time. Flashlight, we were removed from backup batteries. Now we exist one day a year.
Trapped.
He drove northwest from Eugene into Dylan's mind spun. Past winding roads do people where pine trees grew so thick the town nearly blocked out the sun. Every year it lures stopped working 3 hours. One curious just as he was about to turn around, the rest of us were he saw it. A rusted road sign, Dylan barely legible through moss until sunrise. Read, find the boundary. Welcome to Mapleton. If you cross it in time, you'll be free. The sheriff said. Skipped. But the town won't make it easy. Gravel crunching under his tires as the bell rang emerged into what looked like a tiny, something moved in the fog. Town nestled shadows between thick forest hills. Too thin, the air had a golden buildings as the sun dipped toward the horizon. Dylan backed away. Dylan slowed the car, he asked, and rolled down his window. The town's guardians. It was eerily quiet. They make sure we stay. No sounds of newcomers don't leave. No kids playing. Dylan bolted out the door. He parked near what looked like an old diner. Wildly around his neck. The neon sign buzzed faintly. The town was alive now. Maggie's pie and coffee. Whispers echoed from alleyways, stepped out, lights flickered, and immediately shadows stretched unnaturally, as if the air remembered the road he came from. Somehow heavier than the forest. He turned a corner and nearly crashed into a cautious steps and called out, "Hello." The missing blogger. No answer. Her face was pale. The town looked frozen, but her eyes sharp. The buildings you won't make it without help, she said. Brick shops I've been trying for sun-faded awnings. You're alive. A barber pole still spinning slowly. But I know the way. Post office. I marked it last year before the sun rose. Everything was pristine. But we have to move. Yet abandoned. Now. He entered the diner. The two took off through back streets. Over the door jingled. Hollow homes. Inside. Haunted eyes. Menus were still open on the tables. Something roared behind them. Had just left. Inhuman. A pot of coffee sat half full on the warmer. And it was still hot. Erica led him to a rusted gate smelled of the town's edge. Dylan clicked on the other side. Forest. His hand breathing living forest. He switched on his voice recorder. She said, panting. 4:59 You have to cross it before the bell tolls found Mapleton. What Looks about like you? Something out of a Norman Rockwell I can't leave. No signs until someone replaces me. But something's off. Blood, food is fresh. Wait,
Coffee's
is
hot.
that the price?
It's like they were just
She
here.
nodded sadly.
He moved deeper
The
into
bell
the town.
began to toll.
A barber shop.
Run, she shouted.
A general store.
He hesitated
An
just for a
elementary
second.
school.
Then
All
sprinted
open.
through the gate,
All
as the
seemingly
final
lived
bell
in,
echoed
yet
through the
devoid
air.
of people.
And everything
On a
went
hunch,
black.
Dylan
When
tried
Dylan
the
opened
local
his
library.
eyes, he
The
was
lights
lying in the
flicked
middle
on
of
when
the
he
forest
entered.
road where
Books
he had
were
first
neatly
seen
organized.
the sign for Mapleton.
On the front
His
desk
Jeep was
sat
parked
a
a few
thick
feet
guest
away,
book.
covered
He
in
flipped
dew.
it open.
The sun
The
was
last
rising
entry was
slowly
from
through
September
the trees.
3rd,
Birds
1963.
chirped.
A
We're
squirrel
still
darted
here.
past.
We're always
The town
here.
was gone.
Waiting.
No sign.
That's when he heard
no
the piano.
gravel path.
A soft,
Just untouched
punching
forest
melody
as
drifted
far as
from
the eye could
somewhere
see.
down the street. And
Dylan
it always
froze.
remembers. The sun had dipped below the trees, casting the town in shadow. He stepped outside, heart thudding. The music was coming from the church, a white clapboard building with a steeple and stained glass windows, faintly glowing in the darkening sky. He walked toward it, each step echoing on the quiet pavement. The piano grew louder, clearer. Someone was definitely playing. He pushed open the church doors slowly. Inside sat a woman in her 20s, dressed in an old-fashioned blue dress, her hair done up like she'd walked out of the 1940s. She didn't turn to look at him. She kept playing. Dylan cleared his throat. "Excuse me." She stopped. "I knew you'd come," she said softly. He blinked. "What?" "You don't belong here," she said, standing up and turning to face him. Her eyes were wide, haunted. "You need to leave. Before sunrise." "Wait, are you from Mapleton?" he asked, gripping his camera. Is this a reenactment? What is this place?" She walked slowly toward him. "You came looking for answers. But Mapleton doesn't give. It takes."
He took a step back.
"What are you talking about?" "Every year we return. Every year someone finds us," she whispered. "And every year someone stays." Before he could respond, a loud bell rang out from the steeple above, an ancient, thunderous sound that shook the building. The stained glass windows flashed brightly for a moment, as if struck by lightning. Dylan turned and ran out into the street. But the town had changed. The buildings were older now, worn, cracked, decaying. Windows were boarded up. Paint peeled off in sheets. The diner was shattered, its windows broken. The flag at the post office was torn and hanging limp. The air was cold. The sun was gone. He turned to look behind him. The church doors were closed. The girl was gone. Panic clawed at him. He ran back to his Jeep. Tried the ignition. Nothing. The engine wouldn't even click. He reached for his phone. No signal. Of course. Suddenly, someone knocked on the window.
He jumped.
A man stood outside. Middle-aged, wearing a sheriff's uniform from another era. He looked as real as anything Dylan had ever seen. "You're the reporter," the man said calmly. "A little late this year." Dylan rolled the window down an inch.
"Who are you?"
"What is this place?" The man sighed. "My name's Sheriff Ed Langley. Or was, I guess."
"You need to come with me. Now."
"Before the sun rises."
Dylan hesitated.
"Is this a trap?" "No," the sheriff said. "It's your only chance." He sat up, his chest heaving. Had he imagined it all? Some fever dream? He stumbled to his feet and looked around, dizzy, heart still pounding. Then he saw his camera lying in the dirt. He picked it up and flipped through the photos. There they were. The diner. The library. The piano. The girl in the church. Sheriff Langley. Erica Lane. It had been real. He looked at the time stamp on the last photo. 5:59 a.m., September 4th. He had made it. Still shaking, Dylan climbed into his Jeep, started the engine, and drove away, leaving the cursed forest behind. The entire way back to civilization, he kept glancing in the rearview mirror, expecting the road to twist back into that strange town. But it never did. Back in Eugene, Dylan checked into a motel and locked the door behind him. He took a long, hot shower and sat on the bed in silence for what felt like hours. He didn't touch his camera. He didn't speak to anyone. His mind wouldn't stop racing. He'd survived something impossible. He spent the next 2 days reviewing the footage, organizing his notes, and researching the names he'd seen in that town hall, especially Erica Lane. She had indeed been reported missing a year ago while backpacking through Oregon. No trace had ever been found. He thought about reaching out to her family, but stopped himself. What would he even say? On September 7th, Dylan uploaded a heavily edited video to his YouTube channel under the title, "The Town That Time Forgot, a Real-Life Mystery." He blurred faces, altered voice recordings, and made it sound like a creative paranormal investigation rather than a real experience. Still, the video blew up. Comments poured in from viewers claiming to know similar legends, to have seen the sign themselves, to have heard whispers in the woods. He ignored them all. Over the next few months, Dylan moved on to other stories. Bigfoot sightings in Minnesota, a haunted factory in Pennsylvania, but nothing ever felt as real or as terrifying as what had happened in Mapleton. He had nightmares often. In them, the town wasn't gone. It was waiting, watching, calling him back. Then, in late August, something strange happened. He got another email. No sender name. Just a return address. Same as before. We remember you. September 3rd, sunset. You owe us. Dylan's blood froze. He deleted the message and tried to forget it. But on the night of September 2nd, he couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., he packed a bag. He told himself it was just to prove that it was all in his head. That he could go there, find nothing, and finally let it go. He told himself that, but his heart knew better. He drove through the forest again, same twisting roads, same towering trees. No GPS. No radio signal. And then, at precisely 5:47 p.m., he saw the sign. Welcome to Mapleton. EST 1873. It hadn't aged a day. This time, Dylan didn't drive in. He stopped at the edge, parked, and watched from a distance as the sun dipped and the town flickered into view. Buildings were forming like smoke curling backward. It was breathtaking and horrifying. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. The air changed instantly. Heavy, cold, familiar. Mapleton had returned. The town was quiet again, just like before. Dylan walked through the same streets, the same diner, the same school, the same church. But it wasn't déjà vu. It was repetition. An unbreakable cycle. He heard the piano again. The same melody. He walked slowly to the church and pushed the door open. The same girl was sitting at the piano. She turned toward him with a sad smile. You came back. I didn't mean to, Dylan said. You were marked the moment you left, she said. You escaped the first time. But Mapleton remembers. It always remembers. I won't stay, he said firmly. I made it out once. I'll do it again. She stood. No one leaves twice. That's the rule. Dylan backed away and ran out of the church. He sprinted through the town, heart racing. Everything looked more decayed this time, more unstable. Like the town itself was deteriorating. Or angry. He found the sheriff again, standing at the edge of town. You shouldn't have returned, Sheriff Langley said. Now the deal resets. What deal? The town must claim one soul to survive. One to keep it tethered. You left last time. Someone had to take your place. Dylan's breath caught. Erica. The sheriff nodded. She's gone now. You're next. No, Dylan said, stepping back. I'm leaving. Now. He turned and ran to the boundary, but this time it wasn't there. Just more forest. Twisting. Moving. The path he had taken before was gone. The map had changed. He spun around and saw them again, the shadows. Tall. Inhuman. Crawling out of the corners. Watching. He ran. Every turn brought him back to the same street. Maggie's diner. Every exit looped him in. Time was folding. Warping. The town wouldn't let go. He ducked into the library. Inside, the guest book was gone. The shelves were collapsing. Dust floated in the air like fog. Looking for a way out? A voice said. He turned. It was a boy. Maybe 10 years old. Pale. Transparent. I've been here a long time, the boy said. Since 1919. How did you get here? Dylan asked. Same as you. Got curious. Came looking. The boy smiled sadly. But the town needs souls to anchor it. Otherwise it fades. We're the anchors. Dylan swallowed hard. Then how do I escape? You can't. Unless someone takes your place. His mind reeled. That was how it worked. A cycle. One in, one out. That's when Dylan heard something. Tires crunching gravel. A car. He bolted out of the library and down the street. There, at the edge of town, headlights. A young woman was stepping out of a red SUV, holding a camera. He shouted, "Stop. Don't come in."
She paused, confused.
"Are you okay? Turn around. Don't step inside. It's a trap." But it was too late. She had crossed the line. The air shifted. The shadows receded. And Dylan was free. He gasped and stumbled forward, the weight lifting off his chest. The town shimmered behind him. The girl looked around, now sensing something wrong. He wanted to stay, to warn her, to help her. But he ran. He didn't stop until he hit the real road.
His Jeep was there again.
The forest alive. Birds singing. He jumped in and drove, this time never looking back. Months passed. He didn't speak of Mapleton again. He deleted the video, smashed his camera, tried to erase every trace of that town from his life. But every September 3rd, he wakes at dusk. A low humming in his ears, a pull in his chest, as if something is waiting for him in the woods. He knows what it is. The town always needs someone.